So this is the tube bed I built on my 93 Ranger. It's been on the truck probably about 7 or 8 years now, and it's worked out really well, but it doesn't have enough storage. I had a friend Dave told me build as much storage as you could. I thought I did, and I didn't. So when I go on like a week-long trip, like on the Doozy Urshium or Rubicon or something like that, there's just not enough space to take everything, and it's a pain. You know, I got a toolbox mounted in the bottom here. So anytime I need a tool, I got to unload all my camping gear. It's kind of a pain. So getting ready to cut it all off and redo it. Things I've liked about it is it's narrow. So basically once I get past here on the trail, it doesn't really matter because it will just rub against the tube. Doesn't do any damage. So I want to try to keep some of that, but gain some more storage on this. So what my plan is I'm gonna go through here and I'm gonna cut it right basically across from right here all the way down, and then cut down here, cut all this off, take that off and rebuild it. And then on these sides here, like right here, there'll be essentially going to be a storage box right in this area here with a door that can open up out of the side with a box inside of here that you can access going partway across. And I'll put a box in here and a box back here on each side, and then redo the rear bumper a little bit better. I didn't like it. Once I built this, there's no way to put the hitch pin in to try to use that receiver, and then I didn't really plan any backup lights, and these little things don't do squat, so I can't see when I'm backing up. So cut all this off and redo it. I like the high lift jack mount here. That's going to stay. I'll probably add some others. I want to add a shovel mount up here. I'm going to add brackets so when I take my mud flaps off that I can store them up here easier, because that solves one of my other problems. Because right now with the standard cab there's not enough room, so you end up putting everything down inside of here and it fills it up, and then as you can see it gets mud and stuff to fill in there. So I'm going to start stripping this down and go from there. Alright, so you saw I got all the panels off of it. So now I can get down to starting to cut it. You can see the Bronco 2 tank that I've been running for years. Probably a great modification, move this weight back so the truck's way more stable going downhill. Then I got my air tank for my York compressor there, and then a crossbar up front there that my rear shock mounts are on. And then when I did this bed originally, the factory cross member that was here, this part stuck up to clear the factory fuel pump on the old tank. So I cut it down lower and capped it so that I could drop this down. Not sure if it was the best idea, because as you can see there's a bunch of mud and dirt in here. Having it drop down like this area always got dirty, and it just was not a good way to keep it clean. So we'll see if I might keep it down like this. I might bring it back up to here. I don't know yet. So next is to start cutting this off. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep the same width across here for the tires, because I don't see me going bigger than like 37, 38, just because I'm running a Dana 44 and an 8.8, so I don't want to go too much bigger on those, and you know, I don't really want to rebuild the whole truck to run like 1 tons or something like that at this point again. So it's gonna be start cutting it off. I'm gonna build a new rear bumper, so I'm gonna reuse the turn signal lights, but then the rest of these are all gonna get redone and with new lights. So next is time to start cutting. All right, to get my rear bumper off here, I got 3 bolts in it. So there's one right here at the top, and I got one through the side here, and one through the bottom underneath it here. But to get that one out, I gotta unbolt the gas tank. So use the floor jack, hold it up just so I can drop it out just enough to let that slide out. So that's next. All right, so now that the bumper's gone, so now keep cutting this off. You'll notice, so none of the frame's been cut on this truck, so it looks really short, but I could still theoretically bolt the new bed back onto this truck. May have to move my shock mounts or something, but the frame is all there. I didn't have to cut the frame. This is as long as it is. I mean, because factory, you end up with the bed hanging out and the bumper hanging out, so you end up, you know, another foot past the end of the frame rails. So this pretty much comes right here. I'm going to make a few changes to the back, and you'll see that as I start building that. But on to cutting a few more pieces on this thing. All right, so I cut the cage off and the bed off the back here. Got a little ambitious, cut probably a few more pieces than I should have. Should have left this piece of angle iron here that I'm going to be reusing, like this one here, and I cut up there so I'll have to re-weld those back on. But I'll probably end up redoing these anyway, so I don't know, it's not really that big a deal. But now I need to come through here and use the grinder, get all of this, like this stuff cleaned up like this, and these, and get them prepped up where the new piece are going to tie in. And then this one, got a plug weld up here I got to cut out because this is sleeved, so I got to get that sleeve out of there too, so that I can re-sleeve the new one right up here. So next, start getting all that cleaned up. So I cleaned up where the old tube was sitting on my slider. Right here was the air chuck for my air system, and I ground off the tube that sat here, clean that up on the top. And I had to knock these out, the slugs that were in there, since it was a two pieces. So I had to drill out the rosin welds that were in there to put them back in. So my next step here is on these ends. I'm gonna cut these off right back here, sleeve them, and I'm gonna extend this out about another 4 inches, so that makes this compartment a little bit bigger. And so that's gonna be the next thing. Cut these both off, put the piece on there to extend it, and then start on the rear bumper after that. So I'll get going on that. So after I cut these ends off of here, I didn't have any 2-inch, 1/4 inch 2x2 by quarter wall tubing, but I had a piece of 2x4, so I cut that down so it'd be 2x2. Sleeve this into the end here that I cut off, and then weld this all up. This is an 1.5-inch piece of tube, and I just cleared out the little burr on the inside down here so it wouldn't fit. So then took, weld up, ground it down, and then this piece goes in here, lines it up, so I gained 4 more inches on my compartment that I'm gonna be putting in here. So this side, I'll just line this up, weld and grind that one in, and this is for the driver's side. I just gotta weld it up, grind it, install it, weld it in. So next is, not sure what I'm going to work on next. Oh, I'm going to end up cutting this bar off of here because it goes up at an angle. So I just cut it here, cut it here, cut it here. So I'm going to take it out, and I'm just going to tie it right into my spring mount flat across it here. So I can make this whole compartment that I'm going to end up building into this area completely flat, so I can put some more stuff in it. So once I get these welded in, that'll be the next step. All right, so I got this extended out so it's longer. This point is actually about a 1/2 inch short from the tire here. So even if I go to a little bigger tire, it'll still clear. Plus, as it moves back, as it comes up, it'll give me a little more clearance off of this. So as long as I don't go too much more from in there. So still got to clean this up here and do the other side. But this made that compartment that's going to end up in here 4 inches bigger. Plus now I can put a flat bottom in it since this is coming down off of the spring hanger. So get the other side in and go from there. All right, so right here, this is getting ready to start the new rear bumper that I'm gonna make. These are all the pieces here. This is kind of, I got held up a little bit by magnets right now. So all these pieces go together. There's gonna be a hitch material that goes in there. So there's gonna be a receiver hitch right here in the middle that passes through. It's actually upside down right now, and this is the back side. So what happens is a lot of these pieces like these are all notched. So these all drop in here to help align it. And then you can see the notches down here. And these pieces just come in here. So I gotta go through here a little bit, and because it's 2-dimensional plates making a 3-dimensional shape, sometimes these tabs I need to, that help line everything up, but because I got pieces meeting at different angles, you gotta grind the corners off them a little bit so that they line up, but then they also hold each other up. So then this is the start, like, of the mount for the recovery point. So then, like, this piece comes in here. It'll actually slide back through here with that one, and these go on the outer side of each to make it a 3/4 inch thick piece that gets welded on there, multiple locations. And then that piece actually bolts to the frame, and then like this tab bolts to the frame. And then this piece over here, these get bolted to the frame. So there's actually 3 connection points on the top, the side, and the bottom of the frame. So next, I'll put this all together, and then once I get together, you'll see what it looks like. All right, so here's the bumper all tacked up. So these are where the lights are gonna go. So I got the turn signal out here, stop and tails here. Then both these are gonna be wired up into my reverse light circuit, so that this one's kind of going to be pointing at an angle and out and down, this one's straight behind. So I should have quite a bit of light for backing up. Probably run this off of a relay, and then I'm going to test fit all this before I put the receiver hitch in right there. And then these pieces, there's one that goes on each side, then they get fully welded on. It's a full 3/4 of an inch thick. I've been having pretty good luck with it on my truck already. That's the way I did the last bumper. So now put it up, test fit, make sure it fits before I fully weld it. So I got the bumper clamped on, just kind of temporary. It's not quite lined up all the way, but pretty happy with how it fits. One thing that I realized I forgot to do it last time too, so I got to notch it out, is I got a bolt here and a bolt here that are holding the straps on my gas tank that I forgot to notch out. So I have to cut a little notch on the back of that, so that I can get the gas tank back up and bolted on. But looking at it, it's a lot narrower. So this bumper right here is 8 inches narrower, and you can see our Explorer sitting out there, my 2nd gen Explorer. This bumper's 8 inches narrower than that bumper on that truck. So what I am right here, so on the back of the truck I'm basically 58¼ inches wide, but then when you come up here I am, tape out here. So at the cage right here, I am, I don't know, about 68 inches, 69 inches wide right here anyway. So it's not going to have as much of a dovetail as it had before, but it's still quite a bit narrower than factory is. And I mean, you can see that tire is going to be hanging out quite a bit either way. So anyway, plenty of room for the shackle to swing back up. and clear up there. Exhaust will clear. So then I can put my mud flap on back here. So that's how that's at. So next is I will cut my receiver hitch into here, cut the piece figure out, and then I'll brace this all out and get it all welded up, and then ground down and paint it, ready to install. So that'll be the next thing. All right, so here's the new rear bumper bolted on. So the lights aren't wired yet, so I still gotta wire them, push them all the way in to mount them. So on the back side here, the camera will pick it up, these corners are all boxed in here to give it strength on both sides, and then to support the receiver hitch, hopefully the light comes in, I ran a tube across here to both sides, welded it in to bring it back in, and then this all ties into here. And there's also going to be structure mounted off the ends that tie into the rest of it. So it should be pretty stout. So anyway, that's where this is at right now. So once I get the lights wired up, then it'll be time to start on some of the tube work. So, all right. So I got the passenger side bar in going across here to make the top there, and then the support down the side comes into where it's had to put about a 5-degree bend in it. So this will become a nice big open door area to go inside of, and then come around the back side. You can get a pretty good look at it coming down the side. It's narrower than the rest of the truck, but comes back in and pulls in the old bed, basically lined up with this post right here. So then it went in right there. So this is kind of from basically from here to about the bend is the area that's getting added into it. So I still need to add this tube up here. So it's going to tie from here up here, and then it's going to come up, put a bend in it, and then tie back in, similar to how the old bed was. So that's next one, and then start on the boxes. I got to get some more material so I can do the other side, and then come across here and build out that side. So I added this extension onto the side of the bumper that'll wrap down the side here, and it's set up to pretty much follow the same angle as the tube work on the top here. So I just extended it out, and then this string line right here that goes across is going to end up, I'm going to frame this in across here and then down to here to tie that in. It gives me 9 inches of up travel at the tire right here. Basically I measured that spring, it'll go flat in about 6.5 inches of travel going up. So it gives me a little extra room for if I ever go to a slightly bigger tire than this. So that's where that's at. So I still need to do the other side. I'm gonna try to probably get this side complete and then spin the truck around and do the other side next, but got that extended. So once I pick up the rest of the tubing I need to make up all the rest of this, then I can start on that and start on all the sheet metal. All right, so once I got that piece on, I took some of this ram board stuff, get like Home Depot or Lowe's. I took like a 50-foot roll, it's like 3 foot wide, and then cut it into like, I don't know, like 30 by 30 squares or whatever, 30 by 36. Put a bunch of weight on them for a couple weeks so that they would stay flat and stop curling up. So, and then what I did was I fitted it in here so that this will fit roughly in here, like so, as the bottom of the little box I'm going to put down here. I dropped it down so I could get a little more height in there, plus a nice little ledge so stuff doesn't roll out if I'm on a side of a hill. So I took that, and then once I did that, I took it and I marked it all out on this piece of steel here. It's this 16 gauge cold rolled. I've been sitting in my garage for a while, so it's a little rusty. But marked all the lines. So now I take it over to my swag press with my 3D printed dies in it, lower die, and bend this and see if we can get it to fit. right, so now get this to go in there. I'm hoping this isn't too tall, but I'm going to try to take out a couple of these fingers here so that I have room for these to pass through when I bend them up. We'll do that next. So it's not going to fit right there, so kind of sucks. All right, when I get like this and I can't bend it, I just clamp it up with a couple of scraps inside, and then just take a little hammer, just tap it up, just kind of work my way across until I slowly fold it up in place. So anyway, go see how this thing fits. So I cut this piece, and it's a little bit long down here in the corner. It won't quite fit. So what I'm going to do is trim that far edge off of it and shorten it up by about 3/8 of an inch, and then I should be able to pull it into place, clamp it in place, and tack weld it in right where it's going to go. That'll be next. So I got all this box back here welded in, so now it's ready for some seam sealer and to finish it. But then I also got this bar in here, so it runs basically at the same plane as the top bar for the next box. And then I started working on this lower shelf piece here. So right behind here is the front spring hanger. Normally it's up here, but because I got the Chevy springs that are longer, it's moved forward. And then with my hanger I built, if you look at it right up here, if it focuses, since I have the drop hanger where this bolt's 2.5 inches lower than factory, so factory would be up here somewhere, I was able to lower it down. This is where it ties into my slider out here. And then, so I did this, and then I reframed. This is the old piece of the floor. I trimmed it down, added new pieces on the ends to make it the same width as that. Last time it sat down here before at this bottom lower elevation, and this whole section just always filled with dirt and mud and was always a pain to keep clean. So now I raised it up, and then it gives me this area under here that I'm going to close in, and what that is going to become is storage. Like I got an axle shaft just sitting in here right now kind of testing it, but basically it's going to make it so that I can slide spare parts down in there, and I'll be able to store stuff down in there as well. And this is actually lower than it was with my toolbox that basically sat in that same spot right there that I had in the bed of the truck. So that's where I've gotten to so far. So I can start making this piece and start building that box underneath there. So I got this box made out of 16 gauge here that goes all the way across. You can see in here. So next, just weld this in all around here. The reason why the sides come in at an angle is so that when I bolt this top piece back in here, the bolts that stick through on each side, see right in here, will clear so that I don't have holes all the way through that box. So I'll trim this back, and then it'll get welded up here, welded across there, and then when I'm all done, I'll seam seal it. So that's next, is to get that in. So I was able to get this box all welded in on the bottom and the top. I still need to make filler pieces for the two ends. So then what I did was I got this piece in on the cage here that ties in, very similar to how I had the last one. And so if I back up here, kind of get an overview of the look on it. So what I did is I made these a while ago to try out. It's 3D printed, and each one of these is a different size pretty much. So like this one's 1 3/4, and then for a 6-inch radius, you can see on each one like that, so you can keep track of what they are, which is what the die is I have for my bender. And then on this side I put the degrees on each one. I'll make a little video on these on how I did it, but so I just stacked them up to figure out what kind of angle I wanted. So I got a 7, a 6, and 2 20s, so 20, 40, 47, 53 degrees. So I figured I could go 53 degrees on the bend and put it up there. And then this, I can actually, on the ends here, I can actually slide that into a piece of 1 3/4 120 wall tubing to help. Gives a good way to kind of eyeball it and see what you want. So now I got that all welded in. Probably stop it right here. Part 2 of the video I'll take and build the other side and then finish these boxes. Thanks.